I want to speak to you today about God's amazing animals. Heard this joke about this little boy Johnny. Said he's school and his teacher asked him, Johnny, what's your favorite animal in the whole world? He says, Kentucky Fried Chicken. So the teacher's an animals activist, so she's sent him to the principal's office. So the next day he comes back, she tries it again, Johnny, what's your favorite animal in the world? He says to her, chicken. She says, well, that's good, Johnny. Tell me why. Out of all the animals in the world, why chicken? He says, because I see its potential as fried chicken. So back to the principal's office it is. The next day he comes back in, she tries a whole different approach. She said, Johnny, tell me, who's the man you most admire in the whole world? Without skipping a beat, he says, Colonel Saunders. Anybody know who that is? Here we go. All right, today we're talking about God's amazing animals. Who can tell me what is the most read verse in the Bible? The most read verse.
In the beginning.
Sorry? I heard in the beginning. Well done. Anybody got anything else other than in the beginning? Genesis 1. Every Christian in all the ages must at least, if he's an honest, true Christian, would at least one time open up the Bible to Genesis 1 and start to read. He probably wouldn't have got past the first chapter, but at least he would have read this verse. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And on this one verse stands the cornerstone, the bedrock, the foundation of all that God is. We just sang that beautiful song, How Great Is Our God, because of this. He is the be-all, the end-all, the Alpha and the Omega. He was before all things, He created all things, He is above all things, transcends all things, and He is in all things. So this is everything about God. And why do we make everything? The Bible gives us two reasons for that. It says in Revelation 4, Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power. For Thou hast created all things, and for Thy pleasure they were all created. God made all things for His pleasure. Because it's the same as us when we do it, like we write a poem or we paint a picture, we take pleasure in it because we've done it. The same as God, He made everything. He made us, He made the animals, He made the universe for His own pleasure. And there's another reason why He made all things. From Psalm 150 it says, let everything that has breath praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. So the second reason He made everything is that we can praise His name. So let's do an exercise. Everybody just inhale. Do that. Deeply, deeply, deeply. Hold it, and exhale. Okay, one more time. Inhale. And exhale. So what did you just do? You breathe. And if you've got breath in your lungs today, you should be doing what? Praising the Lord. You see how easy it is. So He created us for two reasons. For His pleasure and for His praise. Not everybody believes in the creation story. There is a theory out there that is diametrically opposed to the creation story. And that is the theory of evolution. Yeah. And now the evolutionists have a completely different story. They say that in the beginning there was a dot. You see the dot on the screen? Now that's a big dot. They actually tell us that the dot was as big as a full stop or a period at the end of a sentence. So that's how small the dot was. So that's a big dot. And all the matter in the whole universe was concentrated into this little dot. And then one day, bam! It exploded. And that's when we get the Big Bang Theory. Because everything exploded, and from that, there was millions and billions of galaxies out there. And in one of these galaxies out there, there was a little planet, and this little planet was called Earth. It was, and this is all about coincidences. So there's no grand design. This is all coincidence and luck and chance. And yet somehow this planet managed to be just the right distance away from the nearest star, the Sun, just the right distance away from all the other planets and heavenly bodies to sustain life. And somewhere on the primordial seas of this earth, there were little organisms, little small little critters in the sea, and they eventually evolved over millions of years to become fish. And then the fish over millions of years decided, well, he's had enough of the water and he's going to climb onto land. And he became a lizard. And then the lizard became a monkey, and the monkey became man. Did you get that? Did you get that? Yeah, home. So that's where you come from. Everyone, you come from that little dot that exploded billions of years ago, and now you are here. And we know this chart. You would have seen this chart before. Maybe not this one. You may have seen this one. This is a standard evolutionary chart because evolutionists say that we came from a monkey. Billions of years ago, we were a little thing, and then we were a rock, and then we were a lizard, and now we are a monkey, and then we are man. But you know what? And this you see in all textbooks, you see in the museums, even at Babel, you'll see this chart there. And evolutionists and scientists proclaim this is the truth because they say there's been evidence for it. But you know that this chart doesn't exist. Did you know that? The only thing that's true about these things is the monkey and the man. The rest of these seem to not exist. They come from other skeletal remains. Like this guy comes from the Heidelberg main. All they found was a jawbone. They found a jawbone and they made up a whole monkey. They found out that the jawbone actually belonged to a monkey. Then the next one they found was a guy called Piltdown man. And they found out that that was actually a fake and a fraud. Nogal by a minister in England. Ooh, any minister would do that. Yeah, honestly. And it was a fake and a fraud, they confessed it. Then the next guy came out, he was Peking man. Peking man never existed because there's no evidence whatsoever. There's no skeletal remains for this man ever. They've disappeared. So there's no proof of this man either. And as we go along, you'll see that all these men, they found the last one, which was Nebraska man. Nebraska man, they put together this wonderful drawing that we see here from a tooth that they found out belonged to an extinct pig. Yeah, exactly. So then after what I've just told you, we take away these men in between here, and what are we left with? A monkey and a man. So this chart doesn't even exist. And yet, you know what? I've been thinking about it. It takes more faith to believe in evolution than it does in God. Because to believe in God and creation is simple. You just believe that it's supreme being at the end, made everything. To believe in this rubbish, it takes a whole lot of faith. Because there's nothing provable. You can't prove something that happened 350 billion years ago. And they're still waiting for this missing link. Have you heard of the missing link before? They're waiting for a transitional being between any species on Earth. Because they believe that the fish became a lizard and then the monkey became a man. They need to find a transitional being to prove their theory. To this day, they have not found one single shred of evidence to prove that one species evolved to another. And yet they will tell you that. They'll show you this picture and say evolution exists. It's so easy to just believe that our God, Jehovah Jireh, Yahweh Jehovah, created all of this magnificence we see today. And all of this magnificence, in all of this, He made animals. And in Genesis we read the account. By the way, this is a two-part message. Alright, this is going to be God's Amazing Animals Part 1. So you've got to come next week. I'm watching you. Next week's going to be Part 2. We're only going to discuss sea life today. And then next week we can discuss birds, land animals. Genesis 1:21 says, so God created the sea creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good, and it was good, and He made all the creatures in the sea. He said, awesome, this is just totally the best thing I've ever seen. And now what I want to draw your attention to is the words here where it says sea creatures. It comes from a Hebrew word called tannin. Everybody say tannin. Tannin. It's a nice word, it's a beautiful word. It means, translated, sea creatures. Some Bibles see monsters. In our King James Version it says whales. And it's strange enough that that same word tannin is translated elsewhere in the Bible as dragons. Did you know there were dragons in the Bible? The word dragon appears 21 times in the King James Bible. Praise the Lord, from the earth ye dragons, all the deep. That's from Psalm 148. Psalm 91 says, thou shalt tread upon the lion and the adder, the young lion and the dragon. Did you know there were dragons in the Bible? Well, then you'll be surprised to find out that there were unicorns too. Job 39 says, canst thou bind the unicorn? With a bang. In Isaiah 34 it says, and the unicorn shall come forth with them, the bullocks and the bulls. Okay, put up your hand if you knew there were dragons and unicorns in the Bible. Nobody! Okay, so we've... Alright, there's my Bible study group right there. So without me getting into the animals, we've already found two things out. Okay, but besides that, we're going to get on to more important things. Here's your first question for the day. Can you read it? Which is the largest animal on the earth? If you don't know, we're talking about sea life and there's a picture of it. What is the largest animal? A giraffe, a whale, or elephant? A whale. We said giraffe here. It's a whale. Yeah, the whale. This is the blue whale. The blue whale is the biggest of all creatures that God made ever. Land and sea animals. And you can see its size. It's just, wow. This thing gets to a size of 30 meters and weighs up to 180 tons. So it's pretty big. But I know I always, when I hear things like that, I can't compare this to anything. I don't know how 30 meters and 180 tons. So you've got to compare it to something. So I've got this picture. So the whale is actually the size of a Boeing 737. So if you're ever in the airport or flying or looking at aeroplanes, when you see a Boeing 737, think of this measurement and say, oh, that's how big a freaking whale is, because that's how big it is. So a whale's huge. And you know what, although they're so big and bulky, they can actually travel at quite a lot of speed. They travel at about 50 kilometers per hour. It's faster than I drive my car at the time. Alright? So they're going quite fast in the sea. And they also eat while they're swimming. But then when they do that, they've got to slow down. It's like when you guys text and drive and drink the coffee all at the same time. Oh, you did that. Okay, exactly. So they also, they've got to just slow down when they're eating and driving. And he slows down to about 30 kilometers per hour. And then he goes and he eats up all the plankton and then he moves on. The whales are known for their diving. They can go to great depths into the earth, into the sea. The whale here, you can see this beaked whale and also the sperm whale, they can get up to 2,900 meters below sea level. That's bloody far. 3,000 meters. You can imagine, you're right at the top there. You can actually see one of the boats that they have. You can see right at the back it says the mast. Have you seen those boats with the containers on? That's how big it is compared to the whale and the depth that he's going into. And it's interesting because when they gain down to 3,000 meters below sea level, you can imagine the force and the pressure that's exerted upon them. So you know what they actually do? They cut their heart rate in half. As they start diving, their heart rate goes in half, and then they shut down all non-essential parts of their body. Can you believe that? You know at home, when before you go to bed, you put off all the lights and the geysers, and you only leave like a kitchen light or whatever. That's what they do. They shut down all the other parts of the body they don't need. They only need the brain, they only need the heart and the tail. Everything else dies down. So they don't need that blood to circulate and get oxygen through them. So they dive down to 3,000 meters, and when they go, they can keep their breath for 1.5 hours. They're mammals, they have to breathe, they don't have gills. So they go down for 1.5 hours underwater. They get their food and then they start getting up back to the top. Isn't that amazing? I know what you're going to say, Raymond, this thing's the wrong way around. This thing should be flipped, isn't it? Because whales don't, whales go like this. But they don't. What you're actually looking at here is a group of sperm whales sleeping. This is how they sleep. They sleep perpendicular to the seabed. Did you know that? You don't know that. What they do, they go down to the seabed and then they go up like this. And they start taking a nap for about 10 to 12 minutes at a time. They don't sleep all the time, like hours. 10 to 12 minutes, and then they wake up, and as they go back to the top, they'll bob at the top of the ocean, where they can get out, and then their nostrils can get air, and then they'll bob back down again, and they'll take another nap for 10 to 12 minutes. So this is our, so if you ever swim in scuba diving and you see this isn't actually unique and uncommon. This is how whales sleep. There's a whale out there called the loneliest whale in the world. In the 1980s, there was a whale found in the Pacific Ocean that they heard this frequency coming from this whale. It was coming at a frequency of 52 hertz, which is high. All whales, they vocalize, sing their songs and talk to each other in a frequency between 0 and 40. Actually 10 and 40. So that's their wavelength. So they can talk to each other, and if they hear each other, they can talk to each other. There's one out there that is talking at 52 hertz, which is too high for other whales to hear. So they don't hear him, so he can't get a mate, he doesn't get any friends, so he's just the loneliest whale out there. So for any of you single ladies out there, I know a guy, he's pretty big, alright? He loves to swim, and he's just waiting for you to call him right now. The loneliest whale in the world. They say he's some sort of a hybrid, because all whales, when they were created and when they're born, God made them to sing and to vocalize at their frequency. This guy is just totally different. So he'll probably remain for the end of his days the lonely whale in the world. Whales get very, very good ages. Because of their great strength and their great weight and their great size, they don't have many natural predators out there, besides maybe the great giant squid and maybe a big octopus and maybe a real big shark. So they live pretty good. The orca whales or the killer whales, they can live between 30 and 50 years. There's one out there called Granny, and she's lived so far to 103 years old. They haven't found her in the last couple of years. She's actually been missing, so she's either passed away, she's died, or she's actually still living, which will make her older than the Titanic. Did you know that? Weird, isn't it weird? There's a whale out there that's actually older than the Titanic, but she doesn't even take the cake. The whales of Antarctica are called bowhead whales. The average lifespan of these animals is 200 years old. They found one to be 211. And the only reason they know that is because they found a harpoon stuck into it, dated back to the early 1800s. Can you believe it? 200 years old. And that's probably not the only one. There's maybe one out there 250 years old, maybe even 300. So whales are just awesome. Who knew that about whales? Aren't they God's amazing animals number one, right? Yeah. There is another animal out there in Job that is not as great as a whale or big as a whale, but I think I should notice him and just tell you about it because it's an animal that has caused great controversy in the Bible and over the centuries because people don't know what it is. And it says this in Job 41, can you draw out Leviathan? Everybody say Leviathan. Leviathan. With a fish hook or press down his tongue with a cord? Can you put a rope in his nose or pierce his jaw with a hook? This is an animal mentioned alongside 17 other very well-known common animals in the Bible. And we don't know what Leviathan is. The way it's described is like this. It says, the mere sight of him is overpowering. So he's a very big animal. His back with a row of shields, tightly sealed together, like almost like armor. Firebrand stream out of his mouth. Smoke pours from his nostrils. His chest is hard. His chest is very hard. The sword is no effect. You cannot kill this thing. You cannot catch him. You cannot tame him. And for centuries, people have wondered, what is this creature? The reason it's called Leviathan in the Bible, because our King James Bible was translated when? Does anybody know when it was translated? In 1611. So the King James Bible was translated in English from the Greek and Hebrew. And when they came to this verse of Leviathan, they thought to themselves, man, what is this? Do you guys know what this is? No, I don't know what it is. There's no animal like this that's living today. So we don't know what its name is. We can't call it a cow or a whale or a dolphin. So we're going to call it by its original Hebrew name, Leviathan. So that word Leviathan is actually the original word in Hebrew. They didn't even change it. And now for centuries, theologians and scientists have wondered, well, what is this animal? There's got to be some animal. If we believe God is true, believe the Bible is true, then this animal has to have existed in the days of Job. So people have said, okay, well, maybe it's not living today. Maybe it's extinct. Maybe it's a dinosaur. So they said, okay, it's probably the Kronosaurus. And now you can see how big that baby is compared to a shark. Kronosaurus was a plesiosaur, it had the flippers, and one of the biggest animals out in the sea in the prehistoric times. Here's another picture of it, and you can see its awesome size. And it fits the thing. It looks like a Leviathan. It's in the sea, and it's very big, and you can never tame this thing, you can't catch it. And it's got the rows on its back. But then the Bible also says that it actually lived on land. This animal is only aquatic. So we're looking for an animal that lives in the water and on land, and that has this size and look. So people have said, well, it's got to be the super crop. Back in the day, there was an animal called the Cyclococcus, which was a super crop. The crocodiles today, if you've been to Addo or at Babel, they have crocodiles, don't they? We saw one here. They normally go about 3 or 4 meters, which is pretty big. But still, you can catch him, you can tame him, you can. There's a guy that just swam with him, the guy a couple of years ago. Who's a guy in Australia? Sorry?
To talk about Steve Irwin.
Yes, he's a guy he's a wrestle with these things. So they could be caught and trapped. But not this guy. This guy was up to 16 meters tall, and he weighed 10 tons. And you can even see the T-Rex is scared of him. Anything that's scared of this animal will be, we look at T-Rex in the movies and the books and think, wow, he's so awesome. If he gets scared of the super croc, then this means something. Here's another impression of how big this thing would be. And it's actually a bit false because his head is too small. I've seen the jawbone of this croc on the internet, and it's far bigger than that. So you can imagine that thing now. So I'm not too sure if Job was talking about this, but they claim to say that it is probably the super crop in Job chapter 42, or 42 or 41. And now I need you to leave you with this thought about Leviathan before we move on. If Leviathan was a dinosaur, like they say it was, then the dinosaur existed in the days of Job, which was 3,000 years ago. Not 65 million years ago, like the scientists say. And second food for thought is, if it not only existed in the days of Job, it coexisted with other people. And like the scientists say, the dinosaurs were extinct 65 million years ago, and man only came when he evolved from the monkey. I don't know, that's just food for thought for the rest of the week. Do dinosaurs exist? Did they exist in the Bible? And do they still exist today? You might think, Raymond, it's ridiculous because there's no such thing as sea monsters. Who has ever heard of the Loch Ness Monster? Put up your hand if you've heard of the Loch Ness. Okay, here's another. Put down your hands. Who believes in the Loch Ness Monster? Oh, none of you. Oh, yeah. Alright, and Brent, you guys. Okay, here's my take on the Loch Ness Monster. I don't believe it exists because they haven't found any physical evidence of this thing. They've had some photos. They've done a complete extensive research in the loch itself, and they haven't come up with anything. So I personally don't believe it doesn't exist. But that does not believe I don't believe in sea monsters. And you know, I'm like any other scientist, I would like evidence. Give me a monster that I can look at, and then I'll tell you if it is there. So maybe this will change your mind. This is a sea monster that washed up on Loughdale Lake in Great Britain. Science looked at it and they have no idea what it is. Unidentified. This is one that was found actually very recently, this year. They found it in the shores of Georgia. neck, flipper, long tail. Unidentified. This is one that washed up in 2006 on the shores of Russia. It wasn't a fish because of its teeth, it had fur and hair growing on it. This is one they call the horned dragon, washed up in Spain. Unidentified, we don't know what it is. This was one found on a Japanese trawler in New Zealand. Head, neck, 4 flippers. Like the plesiosaur dinosaur. They couldn't actually take it back to shore because it stunk, so they threw it overboard. Japanese people, New Zealand 2013, unidentified, we don't know what this animal is. 1925 in Santa Cruz, California, this washed up on the shore. It was 20 to 30 feet long, long neck, body flippers, head like a duck, unidentified. You see monsters exist? I have no idea what this is. 50 foot unidentified sea monster washed up in Indonesia in 2017, last year. We don't know what it is. So before you write off Leviathan, before you write off Loch Ness, Nessie, think about it. These are physical things which have come up, and scientists don't know what they are. So enough of the sea monsters, let's move on to real animals once again. My favorite animal in the whole world in the sea life is got to be this guy. He's called the cuttlefish. Put up your hand if you've heard of cuttlefish. Okay, put down your hand, put down your hand. You haven't heard of cuttlefish no more. Cuttlefish is one of the most amazing animals in the world. This is truly, as boggle scientists and even evolutionists have no idea where this animal comes from. The first amazing thing about this animal is the fact that it's got 3 hearts. It's got 3 hearts. 2 pump to the gills, the very powerful gills, and 1 pumps the rest of the body. Not only that, its color of its blood is actually bluish green. Scientists have looked at this animal and said, this is like so weird, this is an alien of the sea. It shouldn't belong with the other animals because it's so weird. And just a quick look at its eye over there, do you see its eye? That's how it actually looks. It's a weird shape, isn't it? It's like a W. And again, scientists have looked at this and said, wow, what is this W? No other animal in the world is like W shape. The reason for the W shape is because it gives the cuttlefish the ability to see behind it. Do you see that? So there's almost 360 view of the ocean at all times. No other animal can claim that, but this guy can. So he can see any predators all the way around him at 360 all the time. The most amazing thing about the cuttlefish though is its ability to change color. It can change color like that. And here we see just one quick example, changing from the brown to the environment around it. What it does with its color is obviously for camouflage. It does it for many reasons, for getting a mate. It will put on a light show to get a mate. When a prey comes along, it can actually go to a white wall and it will become white. It will go to a black place and become black. Just like this, it takes on the color of the environment. This is amazing because the cuttlefish is colorblind. So how does it know what color to change? I know, because God made it. The only reason this guy will know how to change color is because there's something in it. There's someone that's put there, an intelligent person, that says, change color. Here's a couple more pictures. A little cute one. And now all the colors you see here, they change all the time. They can change it any color they want, any shape they want, any design they want. But not only can they change color, they can actually physically change their bodily parts. So this cuttlefish, in a second, can change to that. So not only does it take on the color of the environment, it actually physically takes on the properties of the environment. Isn't that amazing? Have you ever seen that before? So where it goes, it doesn't only change the color of the background, it physically takes on the form of, it changes its body structure. No other animal in the universe has this property in it. So just like that, it changes into a rock, and it stays like that, so no one can ever see it. And now, this is amazing, I know. Look at that one, this is like a seaweed one. So that same cuttlefish we just saw a couple of seconds ago can change into this. What they've done was they've actually taken a cuttlefish and put it into an aquarium, and they've put next to it a tree, a little plastic tree. And this cuttlefish not only changes color to accommodate the tree, but physically changes its body to look like the tree, even with this two little tentacles on top. Isn't that amazing? The most intelligent animal in the universe, they say, is this thing. They say that at 1 month old, this thing can count. Babies can't count in one. They have put shrimps into a box, 4 year and 5 year, and when the cuttlefish goes, it takes longer at the 1 and 5 boxes because the scientists say they're actually counting as shrimps. Can you believe it? This thing can't only count, but it does this. It physically changes properties and colors to mimic other objects. And now this is amazing, but I need to actually show you this. Are you up for like a 1 minute video? Yeah, we're up for 1 minute. We've got lots of time today. It's only pictures today. So I'm going to show you this cuttlefish in its natural environment. Don't worry about the world's dead. Yes, this thing's only got that big. Alright? There's no sound, you don't need sound, it's all underwater. Just imagine you got earphones on listening to Led Zeppelin, and now we're under the water. There's the eye, you see the eye? And now look at these pictures. See how quickly they change colour? Strobe lights. Isn't that amazing? It looks alien. It doesn't even look like it belongs in the sea, but yet these things are real. They're out there. They're cuttlefish. And it does it just at an instant. It does it for whatever reasons, to catch prey. This is one busy catching a crab. So what it does is it changes the tentacles to actually look like a spaceship. And then what it does is it starts flashing its light off and on to hypnotize the prey. So while it's doing that, it hypnotizes the crab. And in a couple of seconds, you guys will all be hypnotized under my spell. So you see this thing's scared of it, it knows something's wrong. They try and explain that, but they can't. They don't know why it happens. And you can see the colours changing all the time. It's flashing on and off. And the crab, he's besotted, he doesn't know what's happening. He just sees all these lights and he's hypnotized. Dun, dun. If you can imagine the jaws moving, and then he catches the crab. And you can see it changes colour again, see it? Totally amazing. The cuttlefish, the most amazing animal in the world. Let's see. Alright. So there's the cuttlefish, but before we end off today with God's amazing animals, I need to show you a couple more animals. Are you down for a couple more animals out there? The whale, I know that blew you away. I know the cuttlefish blew you away, but maybe this one will blow you away. Oh, cute. Is it called the Dumbo octopus? Because it looks like Dumbo from the 1941 Walt Disney movie. There's an octopus, very small octopus out there called Dumbo. Oh, how cute is he? Have you ever seen a googly-eyed squid? Well, now you have. This is a googly-eyed squid. That's its name because it's got googly eyes. And this little creature might look big on the screen, but it's only not that big. It's a small little thing like this. You'll probably, if you a scuba diver, you'll probably just squash it. And you get this cute little squiddies out there. Ah, one of the most amazing animals I've seen. This is called the blue sea dragon. Again, very small, that they can grow in between there and there. They are deadly, not for us, but for other animals, that they actually excrete a venom. But isn't that the most amazing creature you've ever seen? It looks like from a book of fantasy or from a movie, like Avatar. You know, you expect to see this in one of these movies, but this is actually really out there, called the blue sea dragon. I love that little fish. It's called the blue parrotfish. And I love that little, Japanese teeth, that just looks so cool. But this whole fish is blue, bright neon blue. So every time you see pictures of it, it's bluer than the sea, bluer than the sky, and all of them are like this. And they're just the most beautiful animals out there. This is called the buckle fish, and I know you're looking at it. Who fishes? Who likes fishing? So if you see this, it looks like a normal fish that Eugene will go and catch in the sea. But the amazing thing about this animal is its teeth. It's got uncannily human teeth. Actually better looking teeth than I've got at this point in time. Can't believe there's a fish out there called the pacu fish found in South America that's actually got human teeth. This is a shark. It's called the ghost shark, or the chimera. And that's all I've got to say about it. It just looks weird, doesn't it? Somewhere out in the sea there's a ghost shark flying around. If you haven't seen a sea monster, this would be a sea monster. Who knows what this is? Seahorse. I always love the seahorse because it's just so unique. It doesn't like kind of, okay, now that we've seen a cuttlefish, it probably belongs out in the sea, but it's not like a fish. It's got this head like a horse, it's got this funny little curvy body, bony structure. Got a little curly tail, and the curly tail is only there to hang on to sea. You know, that's only. So that, and with this great big fin over here, all it does is it goes at a very slow pace to, and then it hangs on to a seaweed, and like that's kind of its life. And it's got a little pouch, a cool little pouch like a kangaroo, where it has its eggs in it. So it's a very unique, beautiful animal. I've always been amazed by this creature until I saw this creature. This is a seahorse. It's also called the sea dragon. And what we're looking at is a head and the body and the tail of the seahorse, but it's completely camouflaged. It's beautifully elaborated with leaves and twigs and everything that makes it camouflage with the rest of the environment. Now, when I look at this thing, I'm just so amazed that God actually created it like this. Is the creature. This isn't parts that it collects and growing up. It's born like this. It's born with leaves on it. It's born with twigs on it. So you can imagine it. This animal is somewhere out there, and God designed it so that it will not only live and breed and procreate and do all this stuff, but it will actually have all these things on it. Isn't that amazing? Right? So I thought the seahorse was going to tell us all this. I thought, no way, you got to be kidding me. I love this picture. There's a normal seahorse on the left-hand side, and he's looking at his cousin and saying, you look like a freak, man. You know what a freak? I'm the best thing in the ocean. Look at this. Leaves and stuff. Somewhere out there in the ocean today, there's the sea dragon. Something that God created. The most, cuttlefish really blew my mind about, but this is so unique, so beautiful, that God would create an animal like the seahorse and just camouflage it. And as I said, these are all living parts. This isn't like parts that just are put onto it. The blood flows through here, and the cells and DNA in there. And here, when I look at all these animals and the cuttlefish and the whale, I've only got one big theological word for you. I hope you get this. It's really, really deep. Maybe we can try and pronounce it together. Who said wow? Can anybody else say wow? I really need you to say it like you mean it. Say wow. Wow. Say it one more time. Wow. So if you haven't heard anything about animals before, I know you've seen whales and maybe you've heard of the cuttlefish, maybe you've seen a seahorse out there, but after today, you will appreciate animals and God's amazing animals in a different light. You will leave this church with this on your mind, saying, wow. When you pray tonight, you know what your first word is going to be? Wow. I don't want to say anything else. Don't pray for the rain or for your family or for sickness. You're going to say, wow. God, wow. Because what I've heard today blew me away. And it's so amazing that this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just a handful of animals out there that Raymond told us about that we didn't know about. We didn't know these things existed out there, and this is how they operated. And there's still millions of other things out there that we are clueless to. So again, God, before I say amen, what am I going to say? Wow. Let's end with this one verse. Psalm 89 says, the heavens are yours, God. The earth is also yours, God. The world and all that's in it. The cuttlefish and the whale and the squid and that little sea dragon. All of it is yours, God. You have founded them. And that's what I love. This again, like the first verse of Genesis 1:1 says, everything. God is all yours. All those creatures we just spoke about, they're yours. In this church today, Lord, we are yours. And I know we are, we looked at the cuttlefish and the whale and we think, wow, they should really be top-notch. No, you are top-notch. You are the pinnacle. You are the climax of all God's creation. I look at those animals and say, wow, they're awesome. God looks at you today and says, you awesome. Craig and Eve, and then you awesome. You think the whale's awesome. No. Des, you're amazing. You're the most amazing creature I've ever created. And I love you so much that I created you to be right on top of all these animals. I've given you authority and dominion over them. Yeah, sure, the whale's big. You have authority over them. That's how much I love you. Join us next week as we do part 2. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a lot of slides, a lot of pictures. As we discuss more of God's amazing animals, we discuss bird life. I know you're going to be blown away by that. You're going to discuss other land animals. And I know you're going to be blown away by that. Maybe, if you're lucky, we'll even bring 1 or 2 dinosaurs back. Are you all right with that? All right, so God bless you. I hope you were just blown away by this. You leave this church with one word, and that's wow. Thank you, God, for your amazing animals. And